Divide 22 million by 46.
You are a lightweight and you don't even understand.
Divide 22 million by 46. You're retarded. You should take your channel down again. You're a joke.
I'm talking about
your mother told me you were a joke.
Data.
You're a joke.
With the insult.
You've insulted me by coming to this debate.
No, you insulted me with
those. You're a joke, D Derrell. Divide 22 million abortions by 46 years. You get almost 500,000 dead children a year.
The number is not correct.
No numbers are correct according to you. Except your numbers.
Preacher all you want.
I don't need to be a bootleg preacher. You're a bootleg homosexual. Don't drop look. Get rid of your shitty channel, nigga. Get rid of your shitty channel again.
Uppity and corny here. I am not quite sure how much of this I can play because I'm not sure when the F-bomb is dropped. I just know that it gets dropped. Someone shared this link with me and I adore the person who shared it with me, but at the same time, it's not on a channel that I frequent. Ironically enough, I actually stopped going to this channel because of a conversation on the same topic of Black women and abortion. I fell out with a particular guy who was replaying this video. So this video was actually posted by, so it was a debate between D Derrell and I think the guy's name is Little Big Nate. I'm not sure. Don't hold me. There was a debate on Teapot, that is the prophet of truth, I think. Teapot, TPOT, and anyhow, I've noticed that in the manosphere, right? D Derrell is from the manosphere. And when I say from the manosphere, he calls O'Shea Duke Jackson his nephew. They're not blood related, but he definitely spent a lot of time in the manosphere. And then, I guess maybe a year or two made a conscious decision to disassociate himself from the manosphere due to things like this. So just a background really quickly on D Derrell as he gets himself together to come up here. This is a guy who was graduated from a historically Black university not once but twice. He owns 3 separate therapeutic practices, right? He's a counselor. And it's funny because all over Black YouTube, from the gynocracy to the manosphere, there are so many people who have questioned his credentials, believing that he must be lying, and I think that's a statement in itself. It's like, a Black man cannot be this accomplished. A Black man cannot have this much education. So I do not believe you. You cannot be a therapist. You cannot be a counselor. I do not believe you because that is not normal, right? But if a Black woman got up here and said she was a therapist, everybody would believe it because we're foremost in education, right? So I've noticed, not that I've noticed, but I spoke to D Derrell in the past, and he was talking to me about the numbers that this man Teapot does whenever. Thank you, Cooking in a Mo. I appreciate that from you. He was talking to me about the numbers that Teapot does anytime he's there because so many people wanted to debate him. So many people wanted to argue with him. So many people wanted a piece of him. They can't wait to call him and his mother and his family and his wife completely out of their names. And if you heard that conversation, you can hear the guy, Lil Big Nate, going in, right? He began with hostility. And you hear D Derrell kind of hanging in there, kind of no, sir, your numbers are wrong. They're incorrect. That's not right. And he's just kind of hanging in there, right? He's not necessarily, he's not returning the same energy. And then finally, I guess the guy drops the F-bomb that rhymes with maggot and, D Derrell finally lets loose. And I'll try to play a little bit more of this for the sake of knowledge and fair use. But I mean, if that F-bomb is dropped on my channel, hopefully it doesn't create a problem for me. But if it does, I'll try to figure it out. So just one moment here while I go on ahead and share that again, as well as the sound. Let's see. Oh, I'm still sharing. So let me just press play.
You're a liar. And you're disingenuous.
Can you please debate?
That's what you are. I'm sick of you. You play games with black babies' lives. You're a joke. You're a joke, nigga. You just laugh because I sound like a man and you don't.
No, you don't sound like
You don't sound like a man, nigga.
You sound like a little.
You're a joke. Do some simple division, nigga.
No, nigga, you need to
Do simple division. You sissy nigga.
how to evaluate that.
You're a joke.
You need to understand.
Thank you for letting me know that you could not hear because I was just talking and doing more talking on mute. So I might just actually start the video here. I will take this down and re-upload it so that you can hear me from here. But thank you, Kita baby. I really appreciate that. So D Derrell, were you able to hear me?
Unfortunately, I was not.
Okay, so I was just running my mouth on mute, okay, just talking on mute. But my thing was this. I first, or I'll start over actually. So I began by introducing D Derrell, right? So D Derrell has graduated twice from a historically Black college, okay, and university. D Derrell owns 3 separate practices that are therapy, right? He's a counselor, he's a therapist, he's certified. If you watch his channel, you see his certifications in the background on the wall, like literally the writing is on the wall. I mentioned the ballpark of how much he makes, and you know, he makes more than this, but you know, over, you know, $220,000 a year, right? And so you have the manosphere who, you know, these Kevin Samuels lovers who constantly define themselves as high value men. You know, they have all their sixes together. I'm 6 foot and I make 6 figures and I got 6, you know, women. You know, I don't know, but you know, they do all these sixes, and then when Mr. 6 actually shows up, when the guy with all the 6s in order actually shows up in the form of a D Derrell, they're mad and they're antagonistic and they can't let him breathe. So you have this man Teapot who has these debates on his channel, and his views skyrocket whenever D Derrell is there, because so many men in the manosphere want a piece of D Derrell. Like they want to rip a piece out of him. They can't wait to cuss him out and talk crazy about his family or his kids, his wife, his occupation, the things he does on YouTube. I don't know how many times I've been attached to this guy when it comes to, you know, Mr. Uppity. Everybody swears it's him because I said something about Mr. Uppity being a high value man, and they're just like, well, it has to be D Derrell. Nobody else is making that much money. And it just boggles my mind that they can't imagine that Mr. Uppity might be somebody who I did not meet on YouTube or online, period. But that's
Right.
another conversation for another time. But I have been developing within myself this theory called one people, two cultures, where I've been saying that African American men and women are developing subcultures that are completely divergent, and we're no longer a fit match for one another. We're no longer able to communicate with one another effectively. And one of the things that happens is that Black women place value on education that is similar to, you know, what Indians and Chinese and, you know, other groups of people place on education. Whereas, you know, Black men like Kevin Samuels and, you know, he's got 1 million subscribers because there are so many Black men who want to berate us about education and tell us that it's not important. You never ever heard a Pakistani say that to a Pakistani woman. You've never heard a Laotian woman say that, you know, a Laotian man say that to a Laotian woman. You've never heard anybody from the subcontinent say that to their female, you know, gender counterpart. But for some reason within our culture, and even when it comes to Africans, you don't hear a Nigerian talking to a Nigerian woman that way. And so my position here is that they're bothered by D Derrell because they literally pretend to be who he is in real life. And I've had women on YouTube do that to me, where I am who they pretend to be on YouTube in order to get a following and in order to secure subs and donations. Hey, Zero the Infinite, like I'm that girl in real life. And D Derrell is that guy in real life. And I can't see, it's especially because, so I played a part of the conversation, right, D Derrell? I played just a part of it. I didn't want to get too far into it because there's that F word that rhymes with maggots, and I don't want that on my channel.
Right.
But
Right.
I displayed basically in the beginning how the guy was yelling at me, and when we tried to stay in there with him, you were being tactful. You were like, no, your numbers are off. This is incorrect, XYZ. And he kind of just wouldn't let it go. And he was trying so desperately to get a rise out of you. And you held out for quite a long time. And then finally, when you responded back, you know, it's like you were damned if you did or don't. It's like,
Exactly.
you know, I stayed, you know, tactful in spite of the way this man was speaking to me. And it was self-love Hills. Thank you so much. I really appreciate this from you. And it was like, oh, you know, maybe he's a P word. He's not a man. He's scared. He won't man up. And then when he finally matches the energy, it's like, oh, you're supposed to be so educated and you're supposed to do better than that. And blah, blah, blah. We expected more from you. And I'm just like, it's all about destruction. It's like Cat Williams made a joke one time, and it was about some car looking like a phantom. I don't remember what the name of the car was, but somebody in the joke, he was like, the dude said, yeah, my third car looks just like a phantom. It's like, yeah, it looks like a phantom until a phantom pulls up. So it's like, oh, I'm this high value man and I'm this 6 figure, 6 foot tall, blah, blah. And then when D Derrell shows up, any woman with 2 pair of eyes on her head can see the difference, and you're mad and you're constantly antagonizing this man who is like OG manosphere. So I mentioned that you know, disassociated yourself from the manosphere and the direction that you went in, that, you know, while you were a part of the manosphere, there were a lot of people who were actually a part of the foundation of the Negro manosphere that were actually doing a bit more with themselves in the sphere years and years ago, which gave to it its name and credibility. And then now, you know, you have these 2.0s and 3.0s and whatever else that have, you know, arisen, and it's really destroyed the content and destroyed the culture. My position on my channel is that there's just a divergent culture here. And I feel that because of your accomplishments, you exist outside of this general Black male culture. It's not that you don't have Black culture or anything, but like this thing that is burgeoning, this thing that causes the gender war, I feel like they target you because you exist outside of their norm.
I agree. I wholeheartedly agree. I mean, you're the only one, to be honest with you, of all this, because I've been on multiple shows because of this debate. I didn't think it was going to resonate in the sphere as it did. And when you got I've seen at least 4 content creators do content on that debate, at least. So, like you stated, you know, I wanted to have an earnest debate in which we were supposed to be talking about the numbers for abortion, which to me that's a manosphere topic. You know, that's to me talking about women's reproductive rights and their right to choose what they should be doing and not looking at things in a complete context. You know, I mean, the thing about the manosphere is they don't understand the dynamics of a relationship. What they understand is power and control. And it's embarrassing that you have grown men who constantly talk about dating and relationships as if they were like I don't talk like men that I know in real life, um even the ones that are not married don't talk about femininity and submissiveness, and they don't talk about dating, even though they may talk about women per se. But like the interaction is not saturated with the same finite amount of topics over and over and over again. So I want you to keep in mind, Uppity, I went into the debate with the understanding that numerically I was going to lose. I knew that because I know 99% of the people don't like me. And I knew that this is a manosphere type debate. When you go there to that space, you're not going to win unless you debate topics that are neutral to the manosphere. And so I didn't actually go there to win. I actually went there to educate. My purpose was to educate and give people an alternative uh, perspective based on fact, based on more accurate and current research. And see, Uppity, the unintellectualism is great, it's vast, and it's disappointing for people that claim that they're thinking black men, or they claim that they have all this knowledge and so forth, or they're self-taught. And to me, one of the issues, and you kind of spoken to this in regards to that perception of black women who value education and various things in entrepreneurship, and a lot of these men are not masculine enough to handle a woman being more successful than them. So in contrary to that, they feel like the only way that they can obtain some level of control is to financially control her. Therefore, you can't earn a thing and I earn all the money. And to me, and that is to me asinine, and that does not lead to a long-term fruitful relationship. And the fact of the matter is that the way that I know I'm winning a debate is the minute I start giving information and then they start telling me that your degrees don't mean anything, your training doesn't mean anything. And when they start saying that, that's when I already knew I won the debate. When you can't rebuttal with a response that's congruent to the conversation, and you start trying to minimize my accomplishments instead of responding to and giving a better response, or to basically debunk what I'm stating, and that would you end up resorting to. It is nothing else I have to say at that point. And I've ran into that multiple times.
Multiple times. I'm so
Yeah.
glad you said that, because I was going to interrupt you and say, would you say that every time you go into these debates, somebody brings up the fact that you are a master's degree level educated person, and they will go there and say, hey, your degrees don't mean ish over here? Would you does that happen like all the time?
All the time.
Would you say 100% of the time? Because I would say at least 99.9% of the time.
Every time. And
100% of the time.
but you know what was worse was I went to Reg the Bad Guy, And you remember when I talked about, and I kind of put a hold on it, but I'm actually going to revisit red pill therapy. I'm going to actually create a course after this weekend. I actually completed 2 chapters of what I wanted to do as far as the book and the course. But I'm going to I kind of put it on hold. And the reason why I put it on hold because I actually I'm getting ready to be accredited as a domestic violence facility.
Congratulations.
And thank you. And I've also have another program that's focusing a lot on case management, working a lot with people, particularly our community in urban communities. And that would be a more direct surface thing that's kind of a supplement to therapy. And those things took a lot. It had to invest money, time, and COVID didn't make it any cheaper for me to do the things I needed to do. And but also in that, I particularly the domestic violence, as they were playing vignettes of some of the things that perpetrators may say and articulate, I found myself hearing things that sound like the manosphere. and I've dealt with domestic abusers before, but it just so happened it wasn't to that. Like I've been actually working on this since October, actually for a year. It's been a year I've been working on this. And when I began to work to dive more into, different models for treating domestic violence abusers, and then I start connecting people in this space who said things directly congruent to what I was hearing. And also I heard things that, gave me further analysis of why certain people in this space say this type of things and why red pill ideology is harmful to Black men. And when I say these things, and they know I'm coming from a psychological standpoint, they don't have the knowledge nor the training to understand, to kind of combat. What they'll do is throw out a text and so forth, and then I got to get into a yelling curse. And like you actually nailed it on the head as far as me trying to hold my composure from the beginning. I mean, from the opening statements, I was basically I was subjected to offensive language in which he was saying all types of things about me and I don't understand this and that and I didn't say anything. It wasn't until the third round that I was like, you know what, I know I'm going to lose numerically anyway, but I can't just let this brother talk to me like this and I don't respond back and give him the same energy. So it was enough. But when you listen to other people critique the debate, they think that I was the Pookie and he was the Ray Ray. And I'm like, okay.
You definitely didn't sound like a Pookie. You just sounded like a grown man who had enough. Just to give the people some context, I want to say, so he's talking about the channel Teapot. I believe it's called the Prophet of Truth, and it's some kind of an acronym for that. But basically, it's a manosphere channel, and they vote, right? The people who are watching in the audience, they vote on who's the winner. So it really doesn't matter if you are right or wrong, if you are correct, if you have the facts, if you did the better rebuttal, if you did the better, if you laid out your argument, in a superior way, that does not matter. It's just people.
It's a popularity contest, to be honest.
It's a popularity contest. So it's like, for me, I can't wrap my head around that. My school, the school that I went to, we had the #1 mock trial team in our state for generations. I don't mean years, I mean generations. So it was just in us to make sense. It was in us to be one person talking back to 30 people because we're confident in what we're saying. It was a culture at my high school. So I don't understand that. I can't get with that. Like, we would go to the nation's freaking capital and do this. So I don't get it personally. But what I was saying earlier to some of you who have just arrived is that D Derrell embodies the high value man. when it comes to, he's, 6 foot tall, six figures, blah, 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 all these, this master's degree, these businesses that he owns, this house, this car, this family, he's married, he has all these things. And what I wrote on what I have here on the screen is difference number 1. So when I'm talking about differences, it's on my theory that it's one people, two cultures. And difference number 1 is anti-intellectualism. And I put a quote that I've heard people say to D Derrell over and over again. And that's, your degrees don't mean ish over here in word. They immediately try to strip him or undress him, dang near blank APE him of his degrees. They strip him of those things, or they try to. And I almost feel like D Derrell, they feel like if they can argue with a man with a master's degrees who owns, several different, therapeutic practices, then they feel like they're just as much of a man. They feel like they're just as accomplished. It does something for their ego if they can have a piece of you.
It's laughable. The thing about it is, I hear what you're saying, and to me, it's a lot of malcontents in this space. I mean, when you look at the amount, the huge increase in incel-like crimes, incel-related crimes, it's on a rise. And there are guys. A lot of these guys. Matter of fact, that was a guy I was just speaking with BMT that I think about 3-4 months ago was a white guy that committed a crime, and they found out he was listening to red pill ideology on YouTube. That was
Wow.
part. That was part of the things that he would listen to when they did a forensic psychological evaluation of him. He was listening to red pill rhetoric, and this it's not it's an increase in that, but it's not at an increase that what I think the APA would deem as being something to like closely pay attention to. But what they are saying is that guys that they're seeing a rise in people who are committing these aggressive and violent crimes out of not being able um to be within, basically they're not liking as far as their place in life, their achievements, not being able to date, not being seen as what we can, I guess you would say, select or high value or attractive, inability to connect, and a lot of this is to me comorbid to mental illness. And there is some level of mental illness with some of these guys that's unfounded, undiagnosed, and not talked about. There's certain guys, and I'm not going to say their names, but there's at least 7, 8 guys in this space that I definitely believe have mental illness. And they have stated things as it relates to their psychosocial history, uh, just the tenacity and the pressure in their speech, the rhetoric that they say, and also the length of time that they repetitively repeat these types of statements over and over and over again. That to me, when you look at that, and something is wrong for you to repetitively think and say certain things and act that aggressive. When you look at the brother that I debated, again, as I told the people on that the next day when I was on Reg, the bad guys channel, when they were trying to understand my stance and why I'm not liked in the space, which I really don't care, to be honest with you. And I had to let them know I really don't care if you like me, love, hate me, or whatever. If I'm saying things that I know professionally are correct, I'm not going to sacrifice that to be loved by the manosphere. Like, I'm sorry, that's just never going to happen. I've been a professional before I was in this space, and I'm going to be a professional and successful after this space. And to be honest with you, this space is not upper echelon by any means, and there's no real financial benefit even if I chose to do that, the financial benefit wouldn't even be appropriate for me to even think such a crazy thought. But as I was stating, you know, they were asking me these to me very elementary questions that to me actually was offensive from a professional standpoint. They were highly, you know, offensive. When you're having people telling me that um if I'm a black man coming into a counseling session and if I don't believe what you're saying, then that means that you don't understand me, or you don't know what you're doing, or you're going to argue with me and have an argument. Arguments don't take place in therapy sessions. There's no arguments.
Right.
We are collaborating and we are interacting therapeutically. They actually think in a counseling session, the therapist and the black male client are actually going to yell and scream and like they're on YouTube and so forth. And I'm sitting here like shaking my head like I can't believe I'm having this discussion. I just cannot believe I'm dumbing myself to this idiocracy. And when you're having people who are telling me, because the purpose of me doing red pill therapy is to focus on the number one thing that I'm going to focus on is red pill rage. And these buffoons actually think that red pill rage is an adequate way of dealing with issues with women. They actually think that is an appropriate cycle of behavior to deal with a woman cheating on you, a woman, you know, taking your money, or you know, you on child support, all of these things. And I told him, I said, listen, guys, let me ask you this question. And I was and I was asking them Socratic questions, and I was stating to them, um, if red pill therapy is so great, can you give me an example of something wonderful happening to a black man, and he chose red pill rage as a result of that, or red pill ideology because of that? And they got really quiet and they were like, well, you know, no. I said, listen, I want you to give me an example of something good happening to a black man, and he chose red pill theology, and so on, because of that good experience. But I can give you a multitude of examples of when something, quote unquote, from their position happened bad, and they use red pill ideology as a way to deter away from doing the work to heal, or to move on in life. And I told them that's the problem. That's why you have people who are 50 years 40 years old still talking about stuff that happened when they were a teenager, as relates to they didn't get the prom queen, they didn't get the girl that leads the cheerleader, or whomever else. I mean, you're still talking about that. You're still flustered and feel, you know, your heart is still you know, soaking with hate because of an adverse situation, to me, that really at this point in your life should be meaningless. I mean, I don't remember half the girls that I dated in high school. I'm just gonna
Right.
be honest with you. The relationships that I had was nothing I deemed at the time. I may have deemed it as being such, but at this point, they're meaningless to my life. But these guys continue to reflect on adverse situations and their inability to move on.
Can I
And
ask what that is a
sure.
symptom of? Like from a professional psychological standpoint, what is it a symptom of when a person can't stop talking about an event that happened in the past? What is a possible diagnosis for why people would come every day to YouTube and talk about the black girl that didn't want them, therefore I don't like black girls?
Okay, there I can't pinpoint it to one specific diagnosis, but what I can say is that um I feel that in this situation there's definitely Axis 1 level diagnoses as it relates to impulse control issues, um, um, thought issues, also, particularly my position, definitely mood related and anxiety related issues. Now, some of these people also, I would look at Axis 2 because I definitely see. I'm not going to say full-fledged trait diagnosis of Axis 2, particularly cluster B, but I
Mhm.
see certain traits. I see certain people having a variety of certain traits from certain cluster B diagnoses in there. I couldn't really say whether or not particular ones, but there are definitely some levels of traits as opposed to those that have difficulty dealing with adverse situations as it relates to relationships. But then, as I kind of reflected, as I look at a lot of guys who are in domestic violence courses and classes, there are a lot of those guys who are narcissistic in nature. A lot of those guys are antisocial in nature. A lot of those guys are also histrionic personality. A lot of those guys act in those ways in nature, in conjunction to the other illnesses in Axis 1, as it relates to like possibly bipolar, having generalized anxiety about certain things. All of these things are unfounded and they're irrational. And I'm gonna put the I in irrational because red pill ideology in itself is an irrational perspective and perception of black women's or women's of a female's nature, particularly as they use terms such as American black woman or Western black women or and so forth, and all the other little sophomoric names like some groups calling, mago, and all of these things are a cover up for mental illness in order to make them feel good about themselves. There's a lot of defense mechanisms, the rationalization that is done in here, the projection. A lot of people go on YouTube for displacement purposes, taking out their frustrations on other people that they can't take out in real life. When you look at projection, they look at other people. They look at certain women in the same way that they see themselves, or certain things they see. They think other women possess that, or other men that they don't like, as myself. I mean, this is the manifestation of what occurs in the manosphere. And the thing about it is, some of those that are clever understand that, and they tap into the psyche of these people, and they tap into the weaknesses, and they create content that basically feeds the beast, and they're making money off of it. And I know this for a fact. There's certain content creators I know for a fact are merely doing this for the fact that they know they have researched and done their due diligence on the weaknesses of these particular this small population of men, and
Mhm.
they have basically financially benefited from it. And
I
uh,
heard of
and and there are also some females too, by the way, as of recent. There are
they're
also,
vulnerability hustlers. I agree with you.
yeah.
They're vulnerability hustlers, and I heard of a guy from the manosphere who makes some of the worst, most I mean, just some of the nastiest content, some of the most hateful content about Black women behind the scenes. He's like, some of the stuff I don't really believe, but it's what sells, it's what pays the bills, it's what makes the money, and it was just about the bottom dollar, and that was part of how I said to somebody, I said it like this, and I said the gynocracy and the manosphere has only ever come together on one thing, and that was to shut me down. And part of shutting me down was for financial reasons and where the money resides and who was getting the views and the popularity and things like this. So that entire blacklisting experience came from people who I was trying to tell my audience this. I said, you will be out here serious about what you're listening to. You will be out here listening to the female counterparts of the manosphere and be riveted and be sitting there just believing in everything you hear. But in the back chats, that content creator you hate, that male content creator you hate, is messaging that female content creator that you love. And they're cool. And you don't know it. And you're being played like a violin, like a grand piano, because they don't care about you. They don't care about Black women. They're just hustling your feelings. If they can make you feel something, you will super chat. You will send a super sticker. You will send a cash app. It's not about direction. It's not about healing. It's not about self-improvement. It's about keeping you in a place of pain so that they can continue to exploit the intensity of those feelings.
You're 100% correct. It to me, and that's the thing that I had discussions in my conflicts with certain people, is that I am unwilling to sacrifice my credibility just to placate to false teachings and false information. That was the purpose of me doing that debate, because the amount of miseducation on statistics and research, because everything, see, you have to understand, it takes a special type of person to spend 20, 30 hours a week, or let's say 10 years, like my opponent was, on focusing on one topic of abortion. This man stated he has spent 10 years of his life researching that one topic alone.
Wow.
The impulsivity
Wow.
of you to be obsessed with one topic, and that one topic only. And in that one topic, you must understand that his underlining subconscious goal is to basically to get back at Black women, to make them look bad, and in the process of doing that, he receives some level of psychological adulation, which is to me sick in itself. But that's his reason for doing that's his end game. I'm going to use this to show Black women how disgusting they are. That's the mindset of guys. There were people that I was speaking to over the weekend when they interviewed me about that interaction, that debate, that stated in a counseling session, if they were seeing me, we need to be holding Black women accountable in the counseling session. I'm sitting here telling this brother, if you come to a counseling session, the counseling session is not supposed to be about a person or a group of people that are not in the count. It's supposed to be about you. And their response was, "Well, D Derrell, you're just letting Black women get away with everything. Nobody wants to." Brother, what about holding yourself accountable for the recurrent issues that you consistently experience, whether it's a Black woman, any woman, or just things that you basically created on your own? And the failure to understand that, the resistance, it was just a high level of resistance. And I just was shaking my head like, I can't believe I'm having this discussion. I'm like, this is I actually told them, and they actually tried to challenge me to waste my time doing a 15-year study on all of the Black males that I have counseled as it relates to relationships, and to give me the findings of what was the outcomes of those relationships. They actually wanted me to do that, to spend my time, take time out of my day to do something to satisfy and validate something that they wanted. I told them I would never waste my valuable time just to do anything for you Negroes. Even if you wanted to pay me, I still would probably say no. Like this is the level of incongruence to reality that these guys possess. It's they actually think that I would find value in compiling research that I already know what the outcome is going to be like. It's senseless. And I told them, I said, guys, listen, I don't really have to do research on that. There's so much research on relationships and so on, particularly with Black men and Black women and so forth. I'm just adding on to a plethora of other information that's going to give probably a similar outcome. And then they were like, well, see, D Derrell, you don't want to, you're afraid to expose the truth. I'm like, brothers, I already know the truth. I've counseled well over 200 to 300 black couples
Mhm.
in my lifetime, like at least 200 to 300, and the families and so on. So I think I know what works and what doesn't work therapeutically, and what are the reasons that they have issues. And one of the biggest things that I would tell them, I say, guys, I want y'all to understand is that y'all talk about femininity and submissiveness and why black women and black men don't get married. I said, listen, I've had couples that I have, whether they were married just or not, and they just wanted to have relationship therapy or couples therapy or marriage therapy. I would say less than 10%. And I'm actually being generous with the less than 10%. It's probably, I really would say less than 5%.
Mhm.
Less than 5% of those relationships, the issue was submissiveness and femininity. Less than 5%. I never, very rarely did I hear a man come into counseling talking about his partner was not feminine enough or she wasn't submissive enough. It came up, and if it did come up, it was not the primary issue. There were other things that were a lot more pertinent to deal with and important than femininity and submissiveness, and following my program and doing what I say and understanding this and things like that. There was no step, and to be honest with you, in most of those relationships, uh, I would say most relationships did not involve paying 100% of the bills, and he was the only person working, and the woman was actually not employed and was a stay-home mother. That doesn't, matter of fact, to be honest with you, even among black women, black couples that are married, there's a very low percentage of in which the woman is a stay-at-home mother. That doesn't exist a lot in the black community, period. I mean, it's there. There are instances of that, but it doesn't exist as far as on a noticeable level. Most black women are going to work in a marriage. Most, the overwhelming majority, are going to work. A lot of these women are accomplished. A lot of these women
Mhm.
have careers, and they're not going to give up those. Marriage should not feel like you're giving up your talents so that you can follow the instructions of another person and they dictate to you how you live the rest of your life. And to be honest, I'm asking them, why would a woman want to marry you? Like, what are you doing that is so great and wonderful that she wants to live under this prison?
Yeah.
I mean, let's just listen to what you're saying. Listen to what would be enjoyable about being in a relationship with people who think like you.
My thing is this. I do not believe these men are seeing a lack of femininity in Black women. I believe that they are, paper colored supremacists. I don't want to say the W word, but they have internalized these supremacy thought processes, and they are requesting, in reality, a slave. They're not requesting a submissive woman. They're not requesting a cooperative woman. They're not requesting they want you to give up your brain. They want you to give up your inclinations. They want you to give up your autonomy. Do
Right.
what I say, or you have severe consequences, like a slave who fears the whip. And I'm just like, you have these slave master ideas when it comes to how to deal with, I'm like, Muslim men. You don't find them having these conversations. And if they are talking like that, you know what? They are single, red pill rage. It's the short era. It's not the tall, strong guy with a big black beard. It's not him. It's the short, skinny guy with no money who can't get a woman to be with him. It's always the guy on the periphery who's having that conversation. But with African American men, right? I'm not going to say Black men because too many people qualify as Black. But with African American men, you have this as a general consensus. And you have men like you and men like the Honest Truth who end up on the outskirts, low-key misfits because you're not with the majority. And when we start launching accusations at the majority, Black men pop back with, not all men, not all Black men, not all Black women. Well, I'm like, but most of you. When D Derrell can't go anywhere without somebody saying your education doesn't mean anything over here, these men did not plan that conversation. These men did not sit down and say, hey, 1, 2, 3, break. We're all going to say his education doesn't matter. I'm like, no, this is a value system. This is a system of values where you are anti-intellectualism is your value. It is your cultural value. And your problem with Black women is that we do not share that as a cultural value. And so they get online and try to talk us out of this difference, out of these differences when it comes to cultural values. No, we see education in the same way the man from India and the Chinaman sees his education. It's a big deal to us. It's honorable to us. It's worth aspiring to.
Right.
And the first thing a brother says to you in an argument is your education means nothing. How does it mean nothing? How does it mean nothing? Those are your values. I was watching The Honest Truth, and there was a Black guy who said Black women overvalue education. And I was just like, a Pakistani man has never said that to a Pakistani woman. It has never, ever happened. And even when it comes to the majority culture in our country, they don't necessarily sit there and say, oh, you can't have a BA, you can't have a master's degree, blah, blah, blah. They just man up. You just rise to the occasion. And there are alternative educational paths like vocations, which still matter. You don't have to be Dr. D Derrell or Dr. Darren Marion. You can be dude on HGTV who you're a contractor. You know how to build a house. You have a certified, building license. You can do some plumbing in this mug. You're this wonderful electrician. Like that still counts. That's still an education. It's still a trade. It's still a set of where you see the value of being educated. Doesn't mean you have to wear glasses and be a bookwormy nerd.
Right.
To value education, and they're always putting it down. I'm like, we cannot reconcile that as a difference because it's unanimous.
Yes.
I mean, a million people can watch Kevin Samuels and they all say your education means nothing. Your education means nothing. I'm like, it's literally how every woman finds a high value man. They went to college together.
That is one of the most disingenuous things in the space of telling people not to accomplish, as if being less accomplished means you have more marital opportunities, and that's just not the case, because there are plenty of women who are less educated or not educated that have a worse time finding a mate undesirable.
Find them. They don't know where to find a good man because they've never been where good men are.
Yeah, I mean, that makes absolutely no sense. I mean, I actually spent the last 2 days looking at. I looked at the debate twice, and then I also on Sunday, on Sunday and Monday, I kind of reviewed seeing, because I didn't think that, I just thought it was going to be a typical debate where people just doing whatever, and people just was like, okay, it was just another debate. But there were people thinking, and see the amusement at stuff like this. When there were people talking about, oh, that was the most entertaining debate that Teapot had in a long time. Like, people were actually happy and like, I'm like, guys, are y'all serious? Is this is your purpose on YouTube? So you can have a guy, saying all this ridiculous stuff and so forth, that they can just go back and forth. I mean, I understand this is entertainment, but my intention was not there to entertain. My position was, I agreed to the debate to actually educate, because I knew he didn't know what he was talking about. When I talked about, okay, I'm sorry.
Don't you feel like you're casting pearls before swine?
Do what?
Don't you feel like you're casting pearls before swine?
Yes. it's like I'm trying to teach this brother in the space the fundamentals of how to analyze research. And, and they refuse to listen. They like if there's, let's say you can do research on black women, and let's say they found out, let's say the research was a positive outcome, but they had one limitation that led to a negative outcome in which they showed, let's say, black women between 21 and 28 cheat on their mates 50 times more than any other demographic, but everything else about that demographic was positive. They'll discount the whole research, skip over all of that, and just focus on that one statistic that stated black women between 21 and 28 cheat on their men 50 times more than other women. And that is, to me, that is, I'm sitting here like, that was basically what happened as it relates to the abortion issue. This brother stuck to one statistic, which to me was overestimated and it was flawed. That stated that black women have committed 22 to 23 million abortions in the last 30, 40 years. And the average of that was about 400,000 a year. And I'm sitting here telling this brother, those numbers are wrong, because when you look at the statistics for 2009 to 2018, and even now, the average amount of abortions was between 500, 600,000 total for all American women. So how in the hell black women are basically, if you do that math, they're basically committing they're basically participating in 80 to 90% of the abortions. That is ridiculous. I'm like, that number is not real. Like, the last 10 years, you look at it for 2018, 19, or whatever, it's somewhere between 500,000 to 619,000. I actually spoke to representatives at the CDC. See, they want to talk about doing research. I do real research. Like, I go to college libraries, and I'm gonna speak because I am a professional, and particularly a health professional and so forth, a needed professional. I can get in and go in as a provider and get access to information that he probably couldn't get. And I actually spoke to this lady for about 40 minutes, in which I spoke, because I was actually, the precursor to this debate started actually 4 or 5 days early, when I actually argued with him and Ramil about herpes and abortions. And they claim that black women make up 48% of black women have herpes. That's ridiculous. That is not true. There's no way in the hell you're going to convince me that there's about 24 million black women and about 11 million of them have herpes. I'm sorry. I will never believe that. But when you read the research only focuses not on black women as a whole. It focuses on the total amount of black women that reported that they had herpes, or that was treated or diagnosed with herpes. Women that came in, 48% of the women that had sexually transmitted diseases, period. So that means, let's say there was 1 million black women that had a sexually transmitted disease. 48%, or around 40 to 48%, had herpes. That's what the research says. Not that the total aggregate has that, but if you listen to them repeat the lie over and over and over again, people internalize that and they believe it. And even the CDC itself admitted to colossal mistakes that were made due to certain states that didn't report, such as California and Maryland and New Hampshire, and Washington, D.C., in which some years they didn't even report. And even if they did report, they didn't even follow the process. They didn't even follow the procedures and the forms that things that were done adequate. And then in some states, they didn't even mention, and this is to me an indicator that I know those numbers were inflated to make it seem like black women have abortions at this rate is because in many of those states they don't even document the race. They don't even document the race of the women. They just document that the women got abortions. So it's an agency called the Centralized Health Agency that collaborates with the CDC that deciphered this information and came up with with this outcome. And the outcome is only an estimate. These guys take research results. Research results are not conclusive enough to be a fact. Research results are just an indicator of the probability of any said phenomenon occurring based on what is measured and what is being analyzed. So they'll take a statistic and think it's factual. That's not the purpose of research. And
Right.
and you don't, oh, D Derrell, you think because you got you in psychology and you this, and I'm like, guys, I'm a behavioral scientist. I analyze research all the time. I read research on all types of things, particularly stuff with family, marriage. My main specialty, mental health. I know how to decipher research. Matter of fact, being that I went to an HBCU, part of what the training was is that they produce professionals that can better their community by understanding and correctly educating our people on the miseducation that this country may say in regards to any statistic about Black people, so that we can come back and give a rebuttal to incorrect information that puts this persona that everything that Black people do is horrible. That was intentionally done by the professors because they understand that we have to start producing professionals in our community that are going to research and treat Black people with respect and provide services without looking at them in a certain way, and putting all of this information out there to make our community look worse than what it really is. And I just asked them, just read the research for what it is. Quit focusing on things to make Black women look worse than the actual situation. Understand what research validity is, and make sure that the research itself is congruent to the topic, and that the research is actually measuring what it is intended to measure, not what you want it to say. Matter of fact, I kind of go into the little spaces, but I had an issue. I was on another. This is a tandem of two females.
Do you do well?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you now. I can
Okay.
hear you.
Yeah. So they had a show one Friday that I decided to come up because I like to listen to them every now and then, and that was a notable progenitor of the manosphere that was up there, and they were using economic and industrial research as an indicator of how Black women choose their mates and why they're failing at getting husbands. And I'm sitting here like, what the hell is this? And I told them, I said, guys, it is fundamentally wrong to use economic and industrial research to ascertain the probability of Black women choosing correctly in marriage. The research is not designed for that. Why are you using research that is not designed for mating habits? This is like, I'm sitting here like, I can't believe I'm in this. Like, I'm starting to feel like I was when I first left the space. I'm like, why the hell am I dealing with these guys? Like, this shit is like stuff that I would never have a conversation with any professional, and they would make such to me, an ignorant, just, how do you know the word? It's just boneheaded comparison. Like, if I was to do research and I used industrial and economic research, that would nullify the whole research. If you want to study and examine Black females and relationships and how they condone themselves, you have to find research that focuses on that, which is behavioral, sociological, psychological research that focuses on that, not economic and I'm just sitting there like, oh, I just it was just laughable. But these guys, the one thing I do notice, and this to me is very, very consistent, which is the way I think they interact with people in real life. I noticed that when you give statements, and I think this is one reason why they have issues with women, is that when they have discussions with women and the women are actually smarter or more intelligent than them, or even a man, but particularly women, they usually act out they respond in an aggressive manner, as if
Absolutely.
you're not supposed to be smarter or you're not supposed to challenge me intellectually. And I noticed this is a consistent thing, that when you point out things like this to him, like when I did this, he and another guy got upset and would rent. They didn't go in a rage, but you could just hear in their voice how they were upset that I just debunked something so simple. And it came across to everybody that don't read that type of research. They just thought these guys just knew what the hell they were talking about. And I just seamlessly told them that, and explained to him how this is actually very simple and elementary, and that research is not reliable, is not even valid to relate to the purpose at hand of you trying to say black women. This is the reason why black women don't choose me. This is the reason why black women choose Pookie and Ray Ray, and they look over me because of the industrial revolution of fourth generation industrial complete all kinds of silly stuff that I'm like, no, this is how real research is done. I would never look at a computer science research to give a basis to why black men are choosing to date interracially. That's what it was equivalent to. Like this is like backwards. And I'm just sitting here just rubbing, like I'm sitting here at my office just looking like I just can't believe I'm doing this. Like I can't, I've had many instances like that. I'm just rubbing my head like I just like where do these people come from? I'm just sitting here like I'm like, where do these people come from? I'm just like, are they just capping? But it's been going on too long to say they're capping, because they actually believe this.
They actually believe this stuff. You know what I think should be happening in these spaces when people have all of this stuff to say? Just open up whatever, newspaper, article, have them read out loud. Just have these men read out loud. Everybody who comes up on a panel, grab, something from the WebMD or whatever it is, and have them read out loud. These men can't even read, sound out the words, like none of it. Read comprehensively, understand within the context what they're reading, the vocabulary, like none of it. And it's like, how can you have such a strong opinion and such a lack of understanding? Every panel I've ever listened to that is co-ed, almost every single time, I can hear in the voices and in the diction of the men and women that the women are more educated than the men. I can almost every single time I can hear the men's level of ignorance and the women's level of education in preeminence over them. And I'm just like, these are the women you want to submit to you. These women who are using words that you can't even pronounce, that you don't even understand. Why are you confused by the word abolition? How come you can't say it? It's not an SAT word. How have you never heard that before? How are you unable to define it, even if you never heard it before? Within the way the word was used, there are context clues where you can say, she's probably talking about making her own choice or of her own permission, and it happens all the time. And I'm just like, am I the only person seeing this? I can hear how much less you are able to command, like your command of syntax, like it's just not there. But you want this woman with this degree, you want this eloquent, this intelligent woman to basically lobotomize herself. Like you want us to have this frontal lobotomy. You want us to take out all of our agency.
To
And
make you feel good about yourself.
yes, a boss. Yes, a massa.
Yes. Yes.
That's insane.
Yeah, it's crazy. I'm sitting here like, guys, man, and to be honest with you, in normal Black society, one of the biggest issues that I'm dealing with as far as with Black women in relationships is Black women struggling to maintain relationships to men that are less educated than them. Now, and to me, the problem is not that the men are less educated, is that the men are not ambitious. That but it kind of correlates in a sense. The ambition is the lack of ambition actually led to the reason why they don't have high education. So it all kind of relates. But
Kevin is telling them McDonald's is okay. You're better off than the college student because you have no student loan debt. McDonald's is okay.
that is crazy. That to me, see, this shit is. I'm sorry for cursing, but this you kind of triggered me on that one because I kind of, when you stated that, I kind of visualized him one time when there was a lady with a PhD, and he told the lady with the PhD that your degree with your I think he said you got a PhD in something that isn't worth nothing really. And I'm like, oh my God, like, guys, man, on average, a person with a degree about with a bachelor's degree alone, a degree person on average earns on average $1 million or more in their lifetime than a person that doesn't have a degree. That's a big difference. We need to quit with this. This and it goes up the more you earn and so forth. And the problem is, if you just strive to be a better you, meaning better at more, a higher level of academic achievement, entrepreneurship, training, education, certification, and you strive to be the upper echelon, you're going to attract more women, whether they are more successful than you or not. Women by nature want the best deal they can get. I'm just saying,
fragile, biological.
Yeah, that's just nature. And if you truly knew and understood nature, I mean, the more visually optic wise that you can provide and show a level of security, the more women are going to be willing to submit naturally. It's not a job. This is something that just tapping into who women cerebrally are. This is just how their makeup is. This is not something where you have to train a female to be submissive.
Right.
And understand, yeah.
And one man, D Derrell, will have, an orbit of women. He's like a sun with a bunch of planets around him. A planet with a bunch of moons, because it's 2 and 3 and 4 women who are just like, hey, I like that guy. There's a reason there's the guy at school that everybody likes, and then the guy under him, and then the guy under him, the top 5, this group of boys or whatever it is. It's like they have the most.
Yeah.
It's like you'll see these men. And I remember I was listening to somebody who said that in medieval times, most men were single because the king would snatch up the women, the kings and the dukes and the nobles, they would snatch up the women, and they would have as many as they wanted to. And if they couldn't have her as a wife, they'd have her as a concubine. And these women were willing to stay in harems because dude just had it like that. And I'm like, you have to stop and think about that. Those same women who were in those harems would be called by other men, oh, she just don't know how to submit. I'm like, that woman don't only know how to submit, she knows how to submit and share and wait her turn politely. All of a sudden, she's got great manners. I remember somebody made a video asking why Black women were more submissive with white men than they are with Black men. And I'm just like, honey, that has nothing to do with race. That has something to do with manhood.
Right.
Period. They're quote unquote submitting to manhood. They're recognizing, that all that hip hop recognize a real dawn when you see one. Like they're recognizing, we know it when we see it. And you don't have to teach us. It's just like how, I made a video talking about in 5th grade, there was this little boy named Rodolfo, and he got an A on everything. Even if the entire class failed the test, he would get an A. He wouldn't just pass, he would have an A. And it got to the point where one day the class made Rodolfo cry because they kept saying, I hate Rodolfo. I hate him. He always gets a good grade. And he would always have his name on the board, and he would always have a golden star. And just like he was just that dude. And physically, there was a little boy named Ricky. He ran a 6-minute mile. And you could start out ahead of Ricky if you know, running your fastest, but eventually, when that endurance needs to kick in, he's gonna max and relax you like you're not gonna make it. And he's gonna be number one every time. That causes everybody to look. That causes everybody to submit. That causes everybody to like, nah, let him be the leader. Let him be the representative. Let him, you know, if you're doing the best on a group project, it's like, all right, well, you go up there and be the mouthpiece. You go up there and be the, you know, the narrator or whatever it is. It always happens naturally in a group of people. What is this teaching somebody to submit? It happens naturally in a group of animals. If I've got bigger antlers, homie, if I've got the antlers and you don't, and I buck, you're out of here. It's natural. But the problem is men who are not qualified as leaders want women to submit to them. And I'm like, not when she's a better leader of her life than you can be. It's not supposed to happen because she will be unsafe. Our wombs are so that we walk a path during pregnancy between this world and another world, where we're between life and death. And there are things that happens to a woman's body when she gives birth that she can't get back. I don't care if she can get back in the same size 0 dress. There are certain things that happen that you just can't undo. Maybe your bones spaced out a little bit. Maybe they shrunk a little bit. Maybe you pulled something. Maybe you XYZ. It's an incredible thing that happens, and we can be permanently weakened to the point of death. We must have a provider. We must have somebody who says, in the event that X and Y and Z happens, you and baby will be safe. We're biologically set up to keep baby safe, in as much as you are biologically set up to admire youth and beauty. Y'all don't want us out here telling you to love, you know, our 400-pound bodies and our titties out elbows, you know, and y'all are like, nah, it's just, I'm sorry, what do you want me to do? I'm not attracted to acne. I'm not attracted to body odor. I'm not attracted to, you know, dusty, dirty faces without no makeup on. I'm like, I'm sorry. And we're supposed to say, okay, because that's facts. You're not supposed to be attracted to me if I'm cross-eyed. You're not supposed to be attracted to me if my face is incredibly not symmetrical. You're not supposed to be. It's not your biology. Symmetry suggests health.
Facts.
Fertility, desirability. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, it's a lot of things, and I just, you know, as a person who routinely deals with a lot of the issues that they talk about, it's just mind blowing that they have men that's 30s, late 30s, 40s, and 50s that don't have a clue about relationships, that don't have a clue about how to treat a woman. I mean, I actually had a discussion with a person on a date that said they went out on a date, how they would condone themselves in a date. And in that interaction, that guy spoke of his initial questions to the woman is, how submissive are you? Are you willing to follow me? And everything was based on him. I stopped him in the middle of this just ridiculous step. I'm like, what are you doing? I'm like, what? Stop it. I said, first of all, this person doesn't even know you. Why won't you adjust your conversation to just getting to know a person, common interests, try to be just, you know, show an enjoyable experience of getting to know you, not you interrogating a person whether or not you can control them. And he actually thought it was appropriate to ask women, how are you going to allow me to control you if this relationship develops into something long term? And I'm just like, I'm gonna be honest with you. all my years of therapy of counseling, I had two black guys and one very young white guy that actually talked about in that manner as far as how they would question a woman or build rapport with a woman on the first date. When I heard this, and the fact of it shows how the tunnel vision, it shows the lack of just being versatile, and the fact that not only do we thought that level of questioning at that point in a relationship was appropriate, but he thought that every man should do that, and that's the correct way for any man to get to know a woman. I'm just like, and so incels don't understand that they create their own problems. They create their own problems. It's a revolving door of the fact that the way it's not about necessarily how other people view you. It's based on how you fail to view yourself, and you create behaviors and it interact with and such where it evokes a female to look at you strange, or look at you as if you're a creep, or look at you as if you're not a desirable person.
That's scary. I would have looked at that man with what you're saying. I would have been like, oh my God, he's going to hit me. And I would have been
Yes.
like, I go to the bathroom and then just like walk out of the restaurant and never come back. And I've seen these guys on TikTok. They're like, man, it happened again. I don't know why she left. And it's some nice dinner, there's steak and potatoes and sides and whatnot. And the girl just walked out of the date. And I'm just like, your mentality is scaring these people away. The way you talk to people is scaring people away. Like they really think a relationship with a woman is not supposed to be like, they think it's supposed to be all about them and serving them. And I'm just like,
and they don't understand. It's like it's this inability to care, this apathy towards attempting to make someone. You're supposed to be wanting to make this woman happy. That happiness is an important piece in a relationship.
And that's how you get submission. Oh my God, I will submit to my freaking nieces and nephews because they're cute and they make me laugh. Like, TT, I want ice cream. And I'm just like, we just brushed your teeth. You ain't getting no goddamn ice cream. Go to bed. And, they make the big puppy eyes and they do a little dance and they're like, please. And they climb all over you and give you kisses. And it's like, oh goddamn. All right. I'm cooking the cream.
Yeah. I'm like, do you know it's an important part of you as a man is doing things to make her happy, to like make her enjoy, like when she thinks of you, it's positive. She gets hot, she's ready for you. I mean, this is like a natural thing, and this is like, oh, that's simping. That's simping. See, okay, there you go with the the self-defeating behaviors, the self-defeating ideology. You're basically creating your own problems.
The key to getting all that behavior that you want.
Right.
All that good affection, all that good support, all that good companionship, all that good yielding. I mean, they say submission like they're freaking, overlords, but I think maybe being yielding is a little bit more humane. But I'm just like, if you want her to yield to you and be kind to you and to be lovely to you and to give you all the things that a woman can give you, make her happy. Because when you make her happy, she's going to want to reciprocate. And a woman's reciprocation is multiplication. Like you make her a little happy, she's going to make you a lot happy.
Right. Exactly. It's crazy.
Have these ebbs and flows because it's like, well, he used to make me happy. Now I'm not happy anymore.
Yeah. But also this is a part because I'm a man. I know as a woman you may not have this soft spot for them, but as a man, this is something else that I find to me that I'm going to attempt to tap into once I kind of present this and finish this and present it, is I know this may be difficult for you to believe, but I do think that underneath all of this hatred, I do think that most of these men do have a love for black women. They just don't understand how to show it, and they don't understand how to function in a relationship. And I think that in that, some of the the failures that they had in relationships to women that they really liked or loved, they it's just that some for some this infatuation with that, they're constantly fixated on that. Because I mean I mean you've heard the stories, of, you know, I was dating this woman, and um she cheated on me with so and so, or she made me think I had the baby was mine and it was for somebody else. And I do think, you know, a lot of this stuff came from the fact that they were really hurt by somebody they really cared for at a
Mm.
really young age. And I think that unfortunately, a consistent thing that I've seen is that they didn't grow from that. You're
Right.
supposed to grow from failures of relationship. There's no growth. They're still fixated. They still view relationships based on when they're 23, when they were 23, and you're now 43, and you're looking at relationships from a 23-year-old perspective, which
You
is
know what they call women when they do this though? When women are like, no, I'm good. I've had my heart broken too many times. They're like, oh, you're just old and bitter. You're just blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, when men do it, it's effing normal.
yeah, and,
It's
and yeah,
normal.
and it's just that women have a different coping mechanism, and for many women, they may decide to withdraw and take themselves out the dating game, and, you know, kind of, you know, isolate themselves. Men become, they don't necessarily fit, they don't isolate themselves, but they're constantly conditioning themselves to continue to be in any environment to date, but they maintain a faulty mindset, and instead of clearing that before they date again. So it, it's a catch-22 with both. Like we just similar experience, just different way of coping with that
We
situation.
will
But to me,
like 5 or 6 men before we're like, all right, then haul it in. They'll be talking about the same girl from 4th grade who didn't circle yes or no with the do you like me, letter.
yeah,
And be jacked up in their 30s. And I'm just like, what in the arrested development is going on?
yes.
You need help. Like,
And see, and all in all of that, the midst of all of that, red pill ideology has a propensity to redirect the blame to everybody except the person, except the person himself, that's internalizing all of these issues in relationships. And my case in point is that in red pill ideology, the goal is to minimize and disparage a female based on what they think their nature is, which is illogical. But they also, in turn, try to say things in regards to how women choose, and other men that they think, that they deem as being more attractive, you know, as far as they possess qualities that's more in line with what the female want. And particularly in a negative way, as they talk about the Pookies and the Ray Rays. I'm sorry, guys, black women are not choosing Pookies and Ray Rays like that.
don't
The only
like
black women that choose Pookies and Ray Rays were those that live in communities where all they were accustomed to seeing were Pookies and Ray Rays. And most of those women don't want the Pookies and Ray Rays that they dealt with. They don't even, when black women are not choosing on Pookies and Ray Rays like that. They're not.
it's not even cool to be a gangster anymore. Like, I get how that was swag in the late 70s. I get how that was dope in the 80s and maybe even into the early 90s, the NWA. I get how that was a thing, but that hasn't been a thing since like the millennium, since the turn of the millennium. Like you look like a fool after 2001, sagging your pants and bee walking. What are you doing? It doesn't make any sense. You look like a fool skipping
Yeah.
class no reason. Like you even stayed at school. Why didn't you go home and skip class? Why didn't you go somewhere? Like you stayed in the bathroom, you stayed in the hallway for what? To fail your class? So you won't have a future? It looks bad. The
Yeah.
celebration of bad grades, the celebration of bad grades and the humiliation of especially boys who have good grades and who obey their parents, that looks crazy. I don't know any high school girls who are looking at Pookie. We don't like mean boys.
My thing is that, and the thing about it, even if they do like them, life will teach them not to like them. Once you get involved with 2 or 3 of them, and you see the recurrent problems that occur, and when you are involved with a Pookie and Ray Ray, and what that life is going, you're gonna eventually mature away from that. You're gonna mature and not want that. That's usually something that very young and naive women, or women who were underexposed or not social, they may gravitate to something new and different. And
here's how Pookie and Ray Ray get us. Pookie and Ray Ray get us by pretending not to be Pookie and Ray Ray. They do this stuff where they're like, I got a past, but I'm a changed man, and I'm a man of God now. And I just got all these dreams and visions, and they pretend to be these born again Christians, and they're really honest, and they just, the white man is on my back, and I just need somebody to believe in me, and we feel sorry for them. A lot of these women have gotten with these men because they feel sorry for them, and they're thinking, well, ha ha ha, I have a notch on my belt, and she's thinking to herself, man, this guy is vulnerable and he needs somebody, and he pulled at my maternal strings with his helplessness. And it's like, well, maybe I can turn him into something different. And they end up helping the guy. But he doesn't just present, I'm a Pookie, I'm a Ray Ray. It's like, yeah, that was my past, but I'm a change. Like they're seducing us with the Malcolm X effect. So you have Malcolm, who was this pimp and this pusher and this player, turned, amazing. Turned amazing, turned perfect, turned low-key, the closest thing to a prophet we've seen in our lifetime, the closest thing to a man who was walking with God like Moses with his staff in our lifetime. And they try to use that to manipulate us. And then the pygmies of our culture and the mammies of our culture who have not evolved, girl, that's a good man. Girl, He work his job all the time at that Amazon warehouse. Show that man some respect. And they try to get you to lower your standards and whatnot. But like, it was part of our culture to choose bad. It was pushed on African American women to choose poorly. I mean, you look at these Tyler Perry movies, and the man who saves your life is the broke dude with the nasty braids. It's the Dusty that you end up being happily ever after with, who you make so much more money than. And Tyler Perry is not the originator of that. That's an African American cultural problem that has separated millennials and Gen Z from, boomers. Gen X kind of has a split, so I won't say Gen X, but definitely like we don't even get that. But your grandma would be like, "Go on ahead, girl. That's a good man." What do you mean? A good man doesn't make $14 an hour. A good boy does. What do you mean? That's a good boy. Let me rub your belly. Good boy. What do you mean? But I'm telling you, it's that I'm a changed man thing that is the lure. And of course, meanwhile, he's not. Meanwhile, African-American girls don't, we don't have our dads. That's another thing the manosphere tries to say. African-Americans are the best dads. African-American dads who are present are the best dads. They're phenomenal. They're effing phenomenal. And they do more than white, Asian, Arab, and everybody else's dads do. African-American dads who are freaking present. But the majority are not. And men can see through other men. Sometimes you need a dude to show up at your house and your dad is there, and for your dad to tell you he ain't bitch. Another thing I have a gripe about with men. When men are raising their daughters, they say, honey, all men are only after one thing. And then they get on YouTube and say, not all men. I'm like, my guy, talk to me like how you would want somebody to talk to your daughter. Humanize me the way that you want somebody to humanize her. But then they switch up their tune. And I'm just like, you want to victimize somebody's kid? I mean, karma, let karma come back to you. Let somebody toss your kid up and she comes home crying and pregnant. Well, he said he loved me. Well, he said we were going to be a family. Well, he said he was going to marry me. And I believed it.
Right. Yep. That's the space.
It's pump and dump in the space. And
Oh, don't let me get on that. Oh
no
Lord.
man speaks out against it. No man speaks out against it. But then what we call them pump and dumpers, not all black men. Okay.
There's a
They're mad
content
about
creator
it.
has made a whole YouTube career off of pump and dump.
Literally the content creator's name, like the name of a channel, the name of an account will be pump and dump. And it's okay. And there's not a man who says, yo, that's whack. Yo, that's STIs. Yo, you out here pass around. You a ho. That's not cute no more. HIV, STIs, STD, and unwanted KIDs, that's not cute. Let's not do that. They just dap each other up like it's okay. How you gonna put dap? How you gonna put dignity and pride on something that is void of dignity and pride? I'm not about to dap you up for that stuff, but they think that stuff is cute. And then come and cry to us about abortion. Why were you not crying to the guy who went all over the manosphere talking about financial abortion? Why was there not a conversation with that guy telling him to shut the hell up? What do you mean? Because y'all think it's okay for kids to be living out here with your eyes and your hands and your nose and your hair and your mannerisms and your genetics, and you not taking care of them because you don't like the mom. Because you just wanted to pump and dump her, and her birth control failed her the way it fails women with melanin, right? When women are on pills and shots, right? For some reason, darker Asians and African American women, we're good for getting pregnant on birth control. We're good for it. Didn't want your baby. And you got a lot of women out here like, yo, this is my mistake. I'm a Christian. I'm gonna take care of this baby. It's a lot of women out here raising oops babies. So you're out here talking about abortion. And this woman, so many Black women I've met, like, I was not ready to become a mother. I did not want to become a mother, but I felt like this kid deserved a chance. So many Black women are Christian and they're afraid of abortion. And they think that they're going to hell if they have one. And I'm just like, how are you going to cry to people about killing babies you don't even want, my guy? You don't even want these kids. African-American kids, kids that are fathered by African-American men, because a lot of those kids in the foster system now are biracial. They got Black dads. The throwaway kids, the majority of throwaway kids who are being thrown into the system where they're trafficked by their own government, they got Black dads. You mad at people for getting rid of the kid when it was a clot? When it was a blood clot? Before there was a heartbeat? What do you want? You don't want the kid. You're not going to take care of the kid. Most of us, if every content creator on YouTube pulled out their birth certificate, the majority of us would have a mom's name and father unsigned. There's no dad's name on the birth certificate. Pull them out. Dare you. Because now the thing all over the manosphere, they're all saying, man, I grew up with my dad. Man, everybody's pretending to have a dad now. Everybody's pretending to have a dad now. And I'm like, all these African-American men who grew up with dads and six figures, what in the hell? Really?
Man,
You
there's no
damn
way.
liar? You damn lie, huh?
No, I'm saying that definitely didn't happen.
I mean, pull out your birth certificates. So many of us, there's no dad there. It's your mama name, the mama you hate, the mama you don't value.
Facts.
I listened to a content creator from the manosphere who I don't respect at all. You know him. He's the one who started the rumor about me trying to throw the blank at him. And he was just like talking about his mom, like, yeah, so what, you fed me and clothed me and gave me a roof over my head. And that's what the F you were supposed to do. You were the one who chose to be a mom. And I'm just like, dummy, but your dad didn't. Like how does it make sense to you to saddle the woman with the responsibility and not the man, but then request the leader gets submission? You yield to the leader. Your mom led, your dad fled. Led, fled, led, fled. You add that F. Led, one person fled. How are you mad at the person who stayed? How are you mad at the person who stayed and put it down for you? Yeah, that is a mother's job, but it's not easy. It is so hard. It's
Right.
crazy. And I'm just like, these are throwaways. And they're just like, oh, you guys want to go to white guys and they don't want you. Facts. Maybe 90% of them don't. But guess what? We're 22 million people talking about 80 something, percent of the country. If only 10% of them want to be with a Black woman, that's okay. We don't need 90% of white men. We don't need 90% of Asian men. We're a minority. We're a small group. But what we know of a certainty is that according to Black male culture, the full Black woman is worth less than the biracial woman, the mixed woman, and the non-Black woman. That's another part of their culture. It's their culture. You can see it all over rap. And I'm actually not sad about that. I'm actually a little bit overjoyed about that. That the face of struggle love is no longer Black. Now it's exotic and it speaks Spanish and other stuff, That's their culture. Whereas Black women actually love their own reflection. And they'll say that old adage, that old refrain, I like my men like I like my coffee strong and black. Honey, you need to get some creamer. Because oftentimes the darkest ones don't love us back. I mean, I see you with all your beautiful dark skin, D Derrell, and up here, and you're sort of kind of a unicorn. I mean, it kind of makes sense that you're on the unicorn's channel. And I think it hurts for Black women to say those kind of things to Black men, but the proof of you being a unicorn is the fact that everywhere you go, you catch hell for doing the right thing. You catch hell for being the right kind of man. I mean, even some of these chicken heads, some of these throwaway Black women, they have an issue with you because you did things right. And they can't crap on you the way that they can crap on other men. So they'll obsess over your life, trying to find something wrong with you. I mean, D Derrell done flew me out and I didn't even know it. It's all kind of receipts of D Derrell. Man, I wish I'd have been there. I'm trying to figure out. So tell me more about D Derrell flying me out. Was it first class? He didn't put me in coach, did he? Like, what's going on? You ain't gonna make all that money and put me in coach. I don't think so. That's not how I'm going to Texas. Howdy. Like just making up stuff. I'm like that. Because if it was normal in our culture to be like you, then it would be praised. It ought to be normal. Mocha Mommy made a comment earlier. I'm not sure if you saw it. Somebody do me a favor and block Dick Hardley. Don't spam my chat, bro. Don't spam my chat and don't insult my guests. Anyhow, she was talking about how African women, when they get an education, they can charge more for a dowry.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Their worth goes up to their men, and they got the same dark skin, broad noses, kinky hair, like it's just a different mentality. Yeah. But for Black men, like Kevin Samuels and all these people are teaching that it makes you worth less. And I'm like, it's a spineless thing. The power couple that built the Black community is under attack. It's going extinct. Like Dr. Martin Luther King and Coretta Scott King weren't just Negroes. One was, she was AKA Alpha Kappa Alpha Fraternity Sorority Incorporated. This guy was A Phi A. And low key, even though he was an alpha, his predecessors, his uncle, his dad, his people, they were Omega Psi Phi. It's a long, lengthy list of Black Boule. Long, lengthy list of Black people with education and like power couples. You want to talk Malcolm X and Betty Shabazz, Betty Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. That was a college girl. He wasn't with no hood rat. He wasn't choosing no girl with no education who didn't understand Jewish. Who wasn't with no dummy. What happened? What happened? When did this, like Mocha Mommy said, when did educated Black women become a problem? In the last 30 years. Because they've been out here since the 1800s. They've been out here and they've been getting married. How are you telling us you want to be with Clara Huxtable, but in real life you're crapping on Clara Huxtable? How? You don't want to be with Clara Huxtable.
Facts. Big facts. But you know, that's just the nature, you know, of this sector. It's the characters and so forth. I mean, it's just a lot of idiocracy going on, and I mean, I just was like, I was, it was comical of me just watching the response videos, and I went, because there were content creators that I haven't listened to probably in months, and I just browsed through the manosphere, and I saw people speaking of the debate. Like, I didn't realize it was going to get that kind of traction, but I'm like, wow, you know. So
they couldn't wait to use it to make you look bad.
Yeah, they couldn't
wait.
Yeah, and you know, I got and now I don't know if you're aware of this, Uppity, but they're trying to copy the white manosphere, and they're now trying to create an IT conference. December 3rd, I was actually violently challenged to go to that in Atlanta, December 3rd through the 4th, through the 5th, actually 2-day conference. He actually challenged me to go to Atlanta so I can meet him face to face.
What kind of accommodations would they even be able to provide? What kind of hotel would that conference be at? I mean, what the hell?
I have no. They're having I was not even. You know, it's funny he brought this up, because during the debate, I was like, I never knew they even they were going to do a conference. And so they're trying to do it's called the IT conference, and some type of manosphere thing, whatever, where they're going to talk about stuff about the space, and then they're going to focus on IT, because, you know, of course, everybody's making 150,000 in IT, you know, in the manosphere. So that's supposed to be what's supposed to be going on. I was like, I'm gonna have to research this to see is this even real, but I heard other people, content creators, talking about it. I'm just going to be curious to see who shows up. You know, I know a brother, his channel got shut down, but he's not in the manosphere, but he kind of talks about the stuff that they did. He did a men's conference every March in Atlanta, and I know his channel got shut down, got terminated. Like, I don't know why his channel got terminated, but he did something, and he would actually have a decent little crowd, somewhere around maybe 30 to 40 people to show up. And it was actually men and women. It was co-ed. And they had a great time. He's been, huh?
I said it had to be co-ed, otherwise there wouldn't be any money.
Yeah. It was men. It was women there, and men, and they talked a lot about self-improvement, just strictly on self-improvement. And you know, he had a good following and so forth. I don't know why his channel got shut down, but he actually invited me to come, the one they had this year, but I wasn't able to come during that time because I had some other things I had to do. But he did something I felt that was successful. But I'm going to be curious to see what turns out with this. I mean, now, you know, they're trying to do conferences now, these meetups. I think that may be the new thing that may happen, where content creators are going to start creating, you know, events to meet
I've
and do things.
for like 4 or 5 years now, bro.
Huh?
I said I've been suggesting that for like 4 or 5 years,
Yeah. Yeah.
all the way back in my gynocracy days. I was like, yeah, let's have a conference. And everybody would, some of these people are not going to show up, D Derrell, especially some of these people who keep their cameras closed strictly.
Oh yeah. The ones who I would never expect those that are making their money not being seen, they would never show up. Now, some of the, particularly those that are popular, they would never take away the novelty of people knowing who they are. So,
They would say they're supporting
but
a
you know what? I will say this. I know that Obsidian has met people offline before. He's met a few people, but it wasn't in a. It was just particular content creators that he um that he kind of was doing work with or doing business with. I think he met like 2 or 3 people that have actually saw him in person. But I don't think he would go if it was like a some type of workshop or where have you, where it's a multitude of people. Maybe he would. Or, maybe he just rather be seen in person and not be seen online. But I just wouldn't expect people that basically don't cam up to go. I just wouldn't see. It would change how people perceive you based on that, you know. So I don't know, but
It's the Wizard of Oz.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I would go. I mean, I've been to conferences. I've been to Umar stuff. I've been to Boyce Watkins. If they come to Houston, I actually missed a conference that Michi X created. I don't know how you feel about her or any of the people I mentioned, but if there's a conference that a YouTuber is doing in the state of Texas, I'm going to try to go. I'll
Sure.
make an effort to go. You know.
Yeah, I mean, if a content creator in my state, and there are huge content creators in the state that I'm in now, if they did something, I would go
Yeah,
for
you know.
sure. As a matter of fact, if it was in a neighboring state, I would go.
Somebody mentioned Chavez Green and said Jessica X won't come. You got to get a passport first. if she has. But yeah, man, it's I've been to that, and I'll be honest with you, I was highly impressed with Dr. Boyce Watkins's conference. That was an upscale A1 level conference. Like
He's capable of that. That's
yeah,
not.
he didn't do any like put something in, no, he did a bona fide professional conference business like that would rival a corporate event or something. That's how well done that was. The
That's not why
people,
Black women take issue with Boyce Watkins. We know he can be professional. Our
yeah,
problem with him is the way that he treats.
and I think, and when I was there, I thought I was going to meet maybe some other YouTubers. You know, this was in 2018, but most of the people that were there were basically people who were trying to get into real estate, and
Mhm.
they were also looking to learn more about stocks and investing. So that was the predominant demographic. But you know, I met Dr. Boyce. I met his now wife, and he actually, you know, he was very personable. He came up, and I thought he probably recognized what may have known who I was, because when I was watching his brother speak, he walked up to me and just shook my hand and said, "Hey, brother, how you doing?" And I was like, I kind of was looking like, you know, because like usually I thought I would be the one to come to him and be like, you know, what's going on with, you know, Dr. Boyce and stuff like that. But he was like going into the crowd, shaking people's hands and hugging them, and I mean, he was very cool, very personable, and also Dr. Boyce is taller and thinner than what you would think. He looks like, I know he's lost some weight now, but he actually, back even 2 years ago, Dr. Boyce is, people think he actually is, he's about 5'11", almost 6 foot. Like I thought Boyce was like maybe 5'7", 5'8" or something, but he's actually taller than what you would think on camera, and he's
We
actually thinner
all
too.
look on camera.
Huh?
I said we all look distorted somehow on camera.
Yeah. Because when I saw Boyce, when I first saw him, I'm like, damn, Boyce taller than that. That was the first thing I noticed. I'm like, man, Boyce is taller than what I. So, but yeah, it was. I mean, the people that he had there were top level people, successful people. It was a great event, and I don't know the next time he'll come back, but I'll definitely be here. But if anybody does a conference in Houston, the only one I did miss, I remember, and I know how you probably think about this guy, but Tommy Simon York came to Houston one time, and he did a workshop in the Galleria area, and only like 2 or 3 people showed up. I was like, wow.
Wow.
And they paid crazy money to go to that. And I didn't go, but I heard people that people talked about. I think a person that went say it was only like 3 people. That was hard. He spent money because he went to the I forgot the hotel that he was at, but he spent money on that, and I think he lost money on that event because they said it was only like 3 or 4 people showed up. I know that Phil the Advise Show did some things. Well, Phil lives in Houston, so I didn't really see it as a big deal. I actually know where Phil's where he filmed in his studio and stuff. Phil is actually like 15 minutes from where I stay, so that it wasn't. I didn't really see that as a big deal, but I definitely would like to, if they did stuff like that, I would actually try to go. So. I think that'd be a cool thing to do, so.
I actually think people like us would benefit from being seen in person. The world of YouTube is weird in that people who are nothing in their communities, people who are just, throwaways, awkward, whatever, they do really well on YouTube.
Yeah.
And it's the people like us who come on YouTube and we're really who we are in real life. Like, people want to sideways treat us, but standing next to those people in real life, oh my God. Oh my God. You're talking trees and shrubs next to one another. We're talking trees and shrubs. Like, so some of these people, like it's the Wizard of Oz. They're just these people hiding behind a curtain with this microphone and a big booming voice, and you remove that curtain and there's nothing there. It's just a little nobody that no one would ever want to be like. But on YouTube, you would think that they're the thing to aspire to.
Yeah, that's facts.
And they're just trash in real life.
Yeah, I mean, there's some people that don't want to be seen. If you know what I mean. There's some people that they want to be as anonymous as possible.
Their followers would be horrified if they saw them in real life.
Oh man, I know there's certain people I know if they were seen in real life, the whole novelty of them just goes away.
And that's the point. And they can focus on talking crazy about people like me and you in hopes of, making sure people don't like us, don't watch, don't subscribe, don't whatever. And they do all this fabricating to make themselves seem like something they're not, while we tell the truth. Yeah. I don't know how many women, have lied about degrees. Lord have mercy. And I'm just like, you lying about all these degrees. I've graduated from like 3 different universities, and I don't even bring that stuff up.
Right.
Like fraud. They brag about being the baddest bee, and I'm just like, this.
Yeah, man. There's so many people that lie about stuff, and people claim they inherited a bunch of money and.
Yeah, and then homeless,
I live in a mansion. Even Tommy said some things that were not true about what he had. And he actually earned a lot of money on YouTube, So
Tommy definitely earned a lot of money on YouTube, and I mean, he showed parts of his house, his Atlanta home, and it was a pretty big space. Um, I don't know if I've ever told you this, but like Tommy's nice to me.
oh, he's
I
nice to you?
Yeah, I mean, I have big boobs, so most men, if nobody can talk them out of me, they will be nice to me. So it's just a weird kind of thing because it's like I'll see the content or the rhetoric about Black women and I'll have an opinion, but then just like voice to voice, like he's always been specifically
Right.
respectful to me, specifically like he'll turn off that stuff.
Right. Well, that's cool to know. I mean, I know that he's been to Houston a few times, from what
Mhm.
I've heard, and so forth. And I actually, to be honest, when I go to the Galleria Mall, a lot of times, I see, um, I've seen other content creators that are big in other spaces. Like I saw this guy that he does these gold digger videos, and
Mhm.
he'll be somewhere in Houston. He'll meet a lady walking, and he's driving an M6 or something like that. And at first, she don't like him until she find out what he's driving. And I've seen that guy, a couple of
I
guys like
always
that.
thought those were actors. Those aren't actresses.
Huh?
I always thought that those were
Oh no,
actresses.
that
I
was
always
real.
thought those were fake
Matter of
videos.
fact, he was at one place that I actually went. Matter of fact, he was at it's a suburb outside of Houston, named called Katy. He was at a park that I used to go to all the time when I used to see some foster care kids out there. And when I saw that the person was out there at that park, I immediately recognized it because I used to go to that park between seeing clients and just kind of relaxing, maybe eating out. I may watch YouTube videos or something. And so he's at those are actually real. those locations are on point.
That's very fun. I definitely, when I went to Houston last, I was in hanging out around the Galleria, want my hotels to be around the Galleria. I
Right.
think it was where Beyonce met Selena, in the Galleria. So it's just kind of perfect for so many reasons. So I
Right.
would definitely, return to Houston and be in that area if I thought, some respectable YouTuber was going to do anything.
Oh yeah, like
I'd fly
that.
out for sure.
Yeah, the Galleria is a spot. It's a hot spot. I mean,
It's
you
nice. It's worthy.
yeah, it's a hot spot. So you don't have to go far to do a lot of things. There's a lot of great restaurants, hotels, shopping, all that stuff that's between
I
there
would
and
have loved to see you there, D.
huh?
I would have loved to see you there. I think you were out of town. I think you were like not in Houston when I was in Houston, or maybe you were, but like I don't know, left. I don't know. But I would have loved to meet you. Maybe another time.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So it's a cool part of the town. I usually go to the Galleria on weekends, like maybe on a Saturday if I want to go out and go shopping or something. Or I may go out like I make it a point. I used to do videos where I would go to a Black restaurant and try the food out and when I was monetized and I had my but I can't do
I
the
remember that. I remember you going to a restaurant. You hated the smell of
oh
the place,
yes
but the food was cracking. It
yeah
looked
I
so
would do
good.
stuff like that because I did content um and I also did a situation where there was a situation with at the turkey leg hut where I kind of got obnoxious a little bit.
Look at you. You were causing all kind of problems at the turkey leg hut.
Yeah, because what
All
happened?
kind of problems.
It was a black woman that was with an Asian guy, and
Mhm.
I said
I
she was
see you. I
swirling.
see you cutting up.
And they were laughing, man. I didn't think people were gonna know, but really her boyfriend did say, but I was really joking. I didn't really mean it. I really didn't mean no harm. I was actually laughing, joking, but she actually took it serious. But what ended up happening when I showed the video, it was another black woman that got mad at me. It was like you should be doing this. And I caught all of it on the camera.
I saw that. She like wanted you to be kicked out of the line or something.
Yeah, I was like, lady, this okay. I said, hey, this is just, and then they were like laughing at me, but I was just, I didn't mean it. Like I didn't try to hurt nobody's feelings. I was just, joking. But when you go live like that, you don't know what's gonna happen. But yeah, once, I would maybe like to do stuff like that. I actually was gonna go to the like the Midtown area is another good area off of in the mid city. There's a lot of good restaurants and places to hang out and stuff like that. And that's where the turkey leg.
Oh, the turkey leg hut.
Yeah, that's where the turkey leg hut is located. But I was actually going to do some content before my channel got shut down. My goal was I was going to do content and ask random people do they know about things about the manosphere. And I was going to bring up topics and see how they were going to respond to me, talking about that stuff. That was going to be my next thing I was going to do before that channel got shut down. I'm still thinking about doing it, though.
Yeah, my next thing was going to be making a Tinder account where I'm 40 with 4 kids and seeing how many people will date me and things, talk to them about Kevin Samuel's speaking points, whether they agree or disagree. That was going to be something, but I'm not sure how safe that would be for me to do by myself. So
yeah, it'll be that would be also content for other YouTubers that don't like you. They'd probably be spinning it a certain way. So
right, of course.
of
Anyhow,
course, yeah.
Do you watch The Honest Truth?
I have some issues. Some of the I watch him. I do watch him, but there's some things I don't. There's some things I like about him, and there's some things I don't like about him.
Well, he's a freaking cowboy. He's in Houston with you. I mean, he's not in Houston. He's in Dallas, and that's practically a world away. But it's still Texas. So I mean, you guys.
He's in Texas.
Yes, y'all could meet up and discuss some things. But I think you guys have more in common than you don't have in common. But he's going to be live in about 15 minutes, so I want to grab some dinner and prepare for him. And I would hope that you would watch him as well, but it's up to you.
I usually he goes live about 3 or 4 times a week. I usually watch at least 2 of his videos. I'll check them out.
Yeah,
I know his platform has grown. His following has grown substantially.
He's doing the work. I know some of the titles might be hard, but when he gets to talking, I mean, you watch the shows. I don't have to explain him, but he's making sense.
Right. Yeah. There's some good points he made. He does point out some things, same things that I may point out as far as with the inconsistencies of the manosphere and so forth. He does point out some things that, I agree with. He says some other things I don't, but hey, that's nobody's. I mean, you're not going to totally like anybody. There's always certain things you're not going to agree or disagree with, but he's definitely growing a platform. So I got to give him his props on that.
For sure. He's doing really well. Anyhow, I wish we could do this more often, because I really do enjoy your company.
Yeah, definitely. Just hit me up, or I'll just, I'm actually starting this weekend. I'm going to start doing more. I'm actually going to start back doing more manosphere type content or relationship stuff in regards to the dynamic. I started another little channel that you're probably aware of that focuses on the other sector I'm in and with the Umar sector stuff. And I'm going to dedicate that channel specifically to that. And then I'm going to use this channel to do just different topics. So that's where I'm kind of going for in the next few months.
All right. Well, thank you for saying that. If you don't mind, do you have access to the chat right now? Are you on your phone or?
Yes, I'm actually on my phone right now.
If you could, I'm going to go ahead and end this live, but if you could just drop the links to all of your channels in the chat so people know where to find you. There are a few people like Rebecca Bart who wanted to know who you were, what your channel was, and how to subscribe. So I want to make sure that they're able to do that.
Let's see. This phone, I may be able to do that.
And if not, if you put it in the comment section, I'll go on ahead and like pin the comment so people can see it. But that concludes our live stream with the decorated D Derrell. Queen Mercy enjoyed the live. Rebecca Bart enjoyed the live. Like so many people gave so many compliments just, having you here listening to you.
Appreciate it.
So anyhow, he's going to leave his channel names either in the chat or in the comment section. Rebecca
I'll put it in there.
Found him. I just found him and just subscribed. Excited to watch the debates. I do watch your channel, D Derrell. Your panel is wild. I watch quietly. Girl, that is the safest place to be watching them wild panels from the clouds.
All righty.
All righty, D. Thank you. I appreciate you so much. Thank you all for watching. Thank you for staying. I appreciate you. And I'm about to get geared up to watch The Honest Truth. So I hope to see you all there. All righty. That's all I got. Bye-bye.